Forgot it. My wife's out of town, so like when my wife goes out of town, everything is like I get out of whack.
The fellas over.
No, I'm going to Orlando to see the fellas. Tomorrow night. Okay. So today, have you seen the learning intentions for today?
Yeah.
Okay, so the learning intentions for today, students will learn about the geopolitical moves made by Germany, Italy, the United States, and the Soviet Union leading up to World War II. Okay. Your success criteria is I can describe the lack of response to aggressors in the 1930s. Okay. There is going to be a long answer question on the test. There's going to be fewer long answers. Okay. But they'll be worth like 5 each on this next test. Okay. One of those we're going to be discussing today and will kind of continue over the next couple of days. Okay, so let's establish a couple things real quick. When Japan invades China, who is going to come to the aid of China? Nobody. When Italy invades Ethiopia, who's going to come to the aid of Ethiopia? No one. Even though the president begs for help, nobody's coming to the aid. So this is sending a message to those that want to do bad deeds that they will not be punished. Now, you don't necessarily have to go to war to punish a country. You could get other countries and yourself to stop trading with them. You know what I mean? Like economic sanctions we could put on them. But even that doesn't really help. Okay, because people don't want conflict. Now, here in the States, we are, what's the I word? Isolationists. Okay, that is a theme, guys, throughout the 30s for the United States. Let me give you another theme for the United States during the 30s. Neutrality. Now, we won't get into the notes on that today, but the United States is going to try and not take sides, stay neutral. This is going to try to prevent us from getting involved in a conflict. That all goes back to isolationism, okay? Neutrality. And I'll bring that up a little bit today, okay? And then the third thing we're going to talk about today is appeasement, okay? And I'll give you some examples of that today, okay? Now I'm going to change the slide. It'll be the only slide we do today. Okay, I know we're not moving very fast. There will be a time where we'll go through multiple slides in a day. Okay, but there's a lot to unpack on the next slide. So don't be in a hurry to write everything down on this slide if you're taking notes. Okay, so I really want to dissect the map on this next slide. Okay, now having done your maps, this should look somewhat familiar. Okay, you got Germany here in the middle. All right. To the west is France, Belgium, Netherlands, Great Britain, Denmark in the north, Sweden, Norway's up here. Okay. To the east, you have Poland. Czechoslovakia is a new country. It was not there prior to World War I. Okay. So when we look at this chart here, let's look at Germany. Now, in the 1890s, Germany invaded France. This was the Franco-Prussian War. And then again in 1914, the start of World War I, Germany invaded France again. So when World War I was over, France is like, hey, Germany, that's it. That's enough. Stop it. So we're going to punish Germany through the Treaty of Versailles, correct? Make them pay $33 billion in reparations that they don't have. In addition to that, ladies and gentlemen, this region, there's a river that runs here. It's called the Rhine River. You guys ever see those television commercials for river cruises in Europe? The Rhine is one of the biggest rivers in Europe, okay? This river, the Rhine, becomes a demilitarized zone to the west of it. This is part of Germany, and this color here, whatever, peach color, whatever that is, okay? This is part of Germany. It's called the Rhineland. This will become a demilitarized zone. Germany is not allowed to put any troops in that region from 1919 forward under the Treaty of Versailles. Everybody follow that. Now, there are times in the 1920s that France would send troops into this part of Germany to take coal at the point of a gun as payment for the $33 billion in reparations. The French would go in there and take coal from the Germans. Now, you think this made the Germans happy? No, they're not allowed to have any troops in there, and you're sending troops into their country and taking coal. This might make you angry, okay? Now, over here, guys, this light colored here, this yellowish color, this region was stripped from Germany at the end of World War I and given to Czechoslovakia, which wasn't even a country. Now it's a country. Remember when I draw the crude map of Germany up here, and I've got this little area cut in here, okay? Now, this region is known as the Sudetenland. You guys need to know this stuff, okay? The Rhineland and the Sudetenland. So, the reason why they drew the border here is because there's a mountain range that runs through there called the what? The what? The Alps. Okay? Now, if you have a mountain range along this border with Czechoslovakia, if Germany wanted to invade Czechoslovakia, they would have to do so over a mountain range, which is very difficult. So that's why they put this border here. Okay? Now, there are about 3 million people of German ancestry living in this Sudetenland, which is part of Czechoslovakia. This is going to be a problem for Hitler. Okay? We will get to that. Okay? Now, this down here is Austria. This is Hitler's home country, Mikey. And a lot of people there speak German, okay, and are of German ancestry. That's something to keep in mind as well, as Hitler will begin to go on the march. Okay? Now, when Hitler came to power in 1933, he puts in place fascism. He starts to remilitarize. Now, under the Treaty of Versailles, guys, Germany was only allowed to have an army of 100,000. That's a small standing army. So Hitler did something kind of sneaky and smart, is he made a lot of those 100,000 officers, so that when he wanted to violate the Treaty of Versailles and build a large army, he had men to train those new recruits. Does that make sense? Hitler and the Germans are also not allowed to have an air force. Yeah.
I was going to ask, what was the crisis, and Hitler used that to become a dictator? Was that something he had planned to do for a while, or you think he just got to?
We don't really know. We don't know the truth about that fire. Many people suppose that it was they got some stooge to do it as an excuse. It was a contrived crisis, a made-up crisis, fake news. Okay, that's what most people think. Okay. Now, the communists were a problem for the Nazis, and well, in my view, a problem. Period. But okay, so they wanted to get rid of the communists, and this was a very good way to do it, okay. And to seek military rule. So he's only allowed to have 100,000 troops, no air force. The Navy is also shrunk. So Hitler starts to remilitarize. Now, we don't have satellites in space at this time to spy on people. You know what I mean? So we don't know what Hitler's doing for sure. People suspect he's remilitarizing, building an air force, and this sort of thing, which he is doing under the cover of darkness. Okay. But in 1936, Germany's going to host what? the Berlin Olympics. Okay? Now, guys, in 1936, Hitler is not seen as this evil dictator yet. Fascism is not a dirty word yet. Okay, so the world comes in to Berlin, and what they find is a clean, modern city with a beautiful stadium for the Olympics. Okay, no unemployed on the streets, no poverty, and a highway system, the Autobahn that he built, okay, that the Romans would be envious of. Okay, we don't even have these highway systems in the United States yet. So people are in awe of what Hitler has done. Now, do people realize that Hitler doesn't like the Jews in his country? Yes. Do they know the extent of that? Probably not. Our media didn't really report on it, so people really didn't know the extent of it, but even by 36, it wasn't that bad. Consider the United States in 1936 and how we treated African Americans in the United States in 1936. You know, Jim Crow, segregation of the races in America, yes? We got our own issues with race. You understand? So people aren't really that concerned about what's happening to the Jews in 1936 in Germany. They're just not. You know what I mean? So Hitler gets some street cred here. When he brings in the world for the Olympics, it's like, wow, Hitler's on the cover of Time magazine, and not for bad reasons. Okay? So he uses this cred, the street cred, if you will, and he decides, I'm going to send troops into the Rhineland. I'm going to violate the Treaty of Versailles. Okay. So he sends his generals in, his troops into the Rhineland. Is France going to enforce this, the Treaty of Versailles here, and stop it? Is Britain? No. We didn't know this at the time, but Hitler told his generals, if the French show up, retreat, do not engage, because they weren't ready for war yet. Okay? They weren't quite ready. The French didn't show up because they didn't want another war. Okay? Just like we didn't want another war. All right? So Hitler gets away with this. Okay? We'll talk about Sudetenland next week. That'll be 1938. Okay? This is 36. Okay? Now, I know you guys have been wondering, like, Mr. Ebright, Eric's like really been, I think he might have said something before class about it. Mr. Ebright, what's going on in Spain during this time period? Isn't that what you asked me before class?
Yeah, something about that.
Yeah. There's some type of civil war going on. The Spanish Civil War. Have you heard of this? 1936 to 39, you've heard of this? Now, this is between the fascists and the Republican government. We'll just call them Republicans, okay? This is a bloody civil war that lasts 3 years. You may have heard of an author named Hemingway, Ernest Hemingway, famous American author. He was there in 36 as this civil war is going on. He wrote a book about it. I think it's called For Whom the Bell Tolls, if I'm not mistaken. Have you heard of this? Maybe?
I heard the name, but not the
Yeah.
book.
Who, what?
You said I heard the song.
You heard, oh, the
Metallica.
song. That's Iron Maiden, right?
Is it?
Or is it Judas Priest?
I thought it was Metallica.
Yeah,
Is it Metallica? Somebody heavy.
Yeah.
Now, Iron Maiden, you heard of them? There's a poem that you guys read, I think your senior year, called it's about the albatross. You guys learned this poem about the albatross? Okay, maybe later you'll get it. And Iron Maiden has a song from that famous poem about the albatross.
Run to the hills.
Pretty good. Huh?
I just know Run to the Hills.
That's a good one. Run to the valley. Yeah, that's a good one. That gets stuck in my head. Now it's going to be there all day. I have that on my favorites playlist. Okay. No, you know why I remember this? Because my senior English teacher, okay, Mr. Cummings, who I have this, I think he was an alcoholic, but Mr. Cummings, I remember this clearly. We had this metalhead in my class. We used to carry boom boxes in the 80s. You know, the big glass, you know. And we had this metalhead in my class. Somebody loves, heavy metal stuff, right? I've never been a huge Iron Maiden fan, but they got some good songs. But he's like, Mr. Cummings, there's a song about this poem we're reading. And Mr. Cummings let him bring in his boombox and play Iron Maiden in the English class. And the assistant principal was walking by and heard Iron Maiden blasting in the classroom. And he stuck his head and he said, "What's going on?" And Mr. Cummings was like, "Whoa, it's okay. It's a song from the poem." And I remember that. Okay, Mr. Cummings was cool. Okay. He's like one of the only teachers I ever remember. You know what I mean? Like, you guys will probably forget about me.
I remember you.
I got Alex to remember.
Yes. Got lots. Okay. So this Civil War, guys, is bloody. Now, who's going to help the Republicans against the fascists? Now, the leader of the fascists is a guy named Ferdinand. You know his last name? That was a long time ago, Magellan.
Ferdinand.
Franco. Franco is the fascist. Okay. Now, who's going to help the fascists against the Republicans? Who's going to help the fascists? Maybe other fascists? Like Hitler and Mussolini? Yes. In fact, they are going to help. Is the United States going to help Spain? The Republican government? No. In fact, guys, it's illegal for Americans to go over and fight. In this lead up to World War II, it's illegal for Americans to get involved. You guys know we have Americans fighting in the Ukraine right now, right? Like former U.S. soldiers that are now fighting on behalf of the Ukrainians against the Russians. Okay. And there's probably going to be some Americans going to Israel to fight. These are like, guys, we were in Afghanistan for 20 years. So you have American soldiers that served, I got you. That served, for many tours. And this is kind of all they know. So like when a war breaks out and there's a cause that they can get behind, they're like, you know what? This is what I know how to do. I'm going to go fight for this good cause. Okay. And lead up to World War II, you were not allowed to do that. So what a lot of American citizens did that wanted to go fight against fascism, they would go to Canada. Americans would go to Canada, get a fake passport saying they were Canadian citizens, and would go to Europe and fight. And there was an entire brigade called the Abraham Lincoln Brigade that went to fight on behalf of the Republican side in the Spanish Civil War. Okay, the first American to die in World War II was an American civilian pilot that went to Canada, got fake papers, and flew for the Royal Air Force in the Battle of Britain in 1940 and was shot down and killed. Okay. Cool story. Okay. A lot of American civilian pilots went over there to fly. Okay. To try and stop fascism. Now, so in the Spanish Civil War, German pilots are going to be flying in the skies. Italian pilots are going to be flying in the skies. Who's going to help the Republicans against the fascists? This is a weird one. Like, you're like, oh, really? Okay. The Russians. Okay, so guys, when you look at World War I aircraft, a lot of these are biplanes, two wings, okay? By World War II, we make great advancements in aircraft, especially military aircraft, okay? They're faster, they're more maneuverable, they can fly further, and they can carry heavier payloads, okay? So the German aircraft that we're going to be talking about in this class will be the Messerschmitt, which is the fighter plane, the Stuka dive bomber, And then the large bomber for the Germans is the Junkers 88, which is quite a bit smaller than what the Americans and the British and the Japanese use. The Russians are going to be flying their new planes in the Spanish Civil War. This one here and the one up in the top corner with the red star on it. Those are Russian aircraft. So Russian pilots, German and Italian pilots are all getting all kinds of practice flying in the air in a war in 36 to 39, okay, before the real war starts. So you guys know how many hours you have to be in a plane to get a license to fly a plane. Now think about how many hours it takes to train a military pilot, fighter pilot, to fly in a dogfight. You guys have seen Top Gun, right? These are the elites. These are the top of the class, okay? And we have some Bishop Carroll students that are flying F-16s right now, okay? Kyle Yerke that graduated in my son's class, 2019. He's flying F-16s. There's a couple others that have graduated here that are flying for the military right now. Okay, my dad flew in Korea, and my dad said, listen, I wasn't smart enough to fly the fighter jets. They put me in a transport. I flew the transport planes, okay? I'm smart enough to fly, but not smart enough to fly one of these, okay? Now, so these guys are going to have lots of practice. Now, the Germans and the Italians also have these new weapons called howitzers, German 88 millimeter guns. These types of weapons that they've created between the wars, they're going to test them out in Spain. And who's going to be the guinea pigs to see how good these weapons work? The civilians in Spain. This is a bloody war, okay? And the fascists are going to win, okay? Now, the Catholic Church is very important in Spain, you would say, probably, yes? You know which side they took? I'm not saying Catholics, I'm saying the church. They took the side of the fascists. Maybe not their proudest moment of the church in Spain. I'm just saying. All right. So, Spanish Civil War. Okay. Now, France and Britain's lack of action here, when Hitler rearmed the Rhineland, could be construed as a form of this. Guys, this is appeasement. Now, let me define appeasement for you, as you will need to define appeasement for me on the test, because you're going to write about it. Why are you laughing?
You said that.
It was well phrased.
Point was across.
Let me define it for you. Giving up your principles in order to avoid conflict is appeasement. Giving up one's principles to avoid conflict is appeasement. Now, let me give you some real life examples of this. I do this with my wife quite a bit. Okay, so we have a disagreement, let's say. I know I'm right. But if we have the argument, my wife's going to be mad for the next 48 hours. And I'd rather avoid that conflict, yes? So I'm just going to let her think that she's right and avoid the conflict. That's appeasement. Now, in any relationship, gentlemen, communication is important, yes? So figure out a way to have a disagreement without having a fight, yes? And that's what I need to work on, yes? Because communication is important. We've made it 26 years. We can keep making it, okay, without appeasement.
How many appeasements?
Oh, thousands. Happens almost every day, guys. Come on. We're cooking dinner, you know? This is the way I would do it. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to avoid it. Let me give you another example. Let's say when you were a freshman, say you were 5 foot. You guys see some of the freshmen we have around here?
Oh, who's the one in the blue community?
We got some really little people, right?
Oh,
So let's say you take somebody like Cash, who's a football player, right? He's a senior. Now, this is one of the good things we did with the lunchroom. We got the seniors away from the younger people, okay? And we still don't quite know how to act sometimes. So let's say this big senior football player sees this little scrawny little freshman in the lunchroom. He's like, man, give me your milk. And the kid's like scared. So he gives you the milk. Okay? Next thing that happens, like next day, you're like, hey, give me your milk. And while you're at, give me that cookie. Okay? This is bullying, yes? Next thing you know, taking the whole kid's lunch and you're making them do your homework for you. Now, how do you stand up to a bully? How does this freshman stand up to a bully? What do? Punch him in the nose.
Can't reach his nose.
He can reach Cash's nose.
I hate
Oh, that's crazy.
Or you get a bunch of other little scrawny freshmen who say, listen, this kid's bullying me, and we're going to stand up to him. You guys with me? Or come talk to Mr. Ebright. Okay?
You gonna punch them in the face?
I'm going to have a few things for him. Okay? Listen, this kind of stuff pisses me off. Listen, if you can't be nice to somebody, just don't say anything at all. Okay? I hate this stuff when kids pick on other kids because they're different. It makes me mad. Okay? We had a little bit of that this last week. Now, it was a couple sophomores doing it to a senior, but it's wrong. It's wrong. Because everybody's different. Everybody's different. Okay? Yeah, some people are quirky. Yeah? People are weird. Listen, probably going to end up being your boss one day, so you better treat him right. Listen, if any of you guys have a problem like this, like you got somebody that's being a jerk to you, come tell me. I'll say something. I'm serious. If you're aware of it and you can do something about it, then you should help that kid out. You have one of your friends being a jackwagon, tell him, hey, knock that crap off, man. Come on. You don't need to be like that. Because most people that bully people are insecure about themselves. So they got to project that onto somebody they just deem as weaker than them. Okay? Don't do that. Okay? And I don't think we have a ton of that in this school. I think generally people get along pretty good. I don't know. You guys can tell me. I'd look at the senior surveys and the sophomore surveys, and there's questions about bullying and stuff like that. And yeah, some of it takes place, but you guys can police a lot of that. Okay? Right? Especially you guys. You know, bigger guys, stronger guys, you can come in and say, listen, knock that crap off. Don't be like that. Okay? Be a good influence. Be positive, not negative. You know what I mean? You guys with me? You on that? You on that? Okay? I know you only got a few months left in school, but, protect those around you that, may be different. Okay? All right. Sorry. I get pretty fired up about that. I wasn't bullied in school. But I know what it's like not to be part of the cool crowd and stuff like that. And I know there's cliques here, but there's also other cliques that you can get into. You know what I mean? Like my wife was a band geek. Okay, it's okay. It's band nerd, band geek, whatever. It's fine. She's okay with that because she knows she's a nerd. Okay, and she's smart. She makes a lot of money. Okay, yes, she's fine. Okay. I say that with the term of endearment, band geek. Okay, I'm not being a jerk about it. Okay, I love those people. They're talented. Okay, all right. We all find our little cliques. Okay, you find your friends and you got them. Okay, and I'm gonna go be with my buddies, my clique from high school this weekend. We're gonna have a good time. Okay. Yeah. We didn't bully people, okay, at least I didn't. Okay. I was friends with like everybody. Like it didn't matter what you were in. If you were in the art, in the theater stuff, I had friends in the theater. I had jock friends. I had smart friends. Not very many of those because I wasn't smart, but, you know. Okay. All right. So while we're talking about this, the Berlin Olympics, let's talk about that a little bit. 36 Olympics. Who steals the show? Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens. The fastest man in the world. Guys, if Usain Bolt walked through that door right now, we would be like, holy crap, it's the Jamaican. It's Usain Bolt. What's his nickname? The Jamaican something missile or something? I don't know. Does he have a nickname? Huh? He's the GOAT. Right? Right? Soccer. Huerta. Ronaldo walks in the room, dude. You're coming unglued, man. It's amazing. Okay? Bryce Harper walks through that room right now, or through that door right now. I'm like, oh, now some of you don't know who that is. But if you've been watching the playoffs, the Phillies, this guy's incredible. He's incredible. We are in awe of excellence. Okay? And what was so cool about the 36 Olympics is that Hitler preached this ideology of Aryan supremacy, and that means I can't talk because you guys are distracting me. Physical superiority and mental superiority. Okay, this is what he teaches. This is what he preaches. Okay, so now the German athletes were good. The top German athlete that Jesse Owens is going to be competing against is a guy named Lutz Long. And he is a tall, slender, fit, blonde-haired, blue-eyed German. Okay? He fits all the check boxes for the Aryan elite. Okay? But guys, Jesse Owens, who's black, he's a black American, the offspring of American sharecroppers in Decatur, Alabama, probably former slaves. Okay, when he's in middle school, they moved from Alabama to Indiana, and his middle school teacher said, "Jesse, you ought to come out for track." Jesse said, "Okay, I'll come out for track." That's going to change history. Okay, changes history. All right. So he goes on, and by the time he's a senior in high school, he's breaking Olympic records. Okay. He will enroll at The Ohio State University. Okay. And start breaking records there. Then the Olympics happen in 32. And he goes and represents the United States. Okay. The 100 meter, fastest man in the world. Jesse Owens wins the gold medal. 200 meter, wins the gold medal. Long jump. Okay. Now they didn't have the triple jump yet in the Olympics. They had the broad jump, you know. That was 2 feet. Okay. Now I like triple jump because my son was a triple jump. Okay. They didn't have that yet. Okay. And my son had a middle school teacher that was the track coach. He said, "Jack, you ought to come out for track." And Jack's like, "Well, I play baseball." He goes, "That's all right. You can come to track practice when you come to track practice." Next thing you know, Jack broke the school record in the triple jump at his school. And I asked Mr. Swords, I'm like, "Mr. Swords, is this a good jump for a 7th grader?" He goes, "Yeah. He's pretty close to varsity here." So 8th grade, he broke the 8th grade record and medaled, or I didn't medal at state, but it made it to state as a freshman triple jump. Took it second in 5A his junior year in the triple jump while he was pitching for the baseball team. Okay. It was cool. I like track. How many track people we got? We got some track people in here? Yeah. Track's cool. Track stars. Right? Chill, laid back. Yeah, it's fun. Never done track. It's fun. Okay. They got room for you on the team. You just got to listen to Coach Swords talk for 30 minutes every day first, and then you can do your track practice.
I'm actually not doing it this year because I'm playing baseball.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm coming out.
Okay. Now,
I already got my pants.
so Jesse, guys, Hitler would shake the hand of every gold medalist, but he refused to shake the hand of Jesse Owens. Okay? The German crowd, every time Jesse Owens would walk into the stadium, the crowd went nuts. This really pissed off Hitler that they were cheering for this black guy. You know what I mean? And then he wins the 100 to 200. Now, during the long jump, he's going up against Lutz Long, okay? Jesse didn't practice the long jump a lot because he was just so athletic. He could just do it. But if you've ever done the long jump, you know there's that white board. And if you go past that white board, it's a scratch. It's a fall, okay? Jesse was in the preliminary heats to qualify for the medal rounds. And his first 2 attempts, he scratched. So Lutz Long, the German athlete, took a towel from around his neck and showed Jesse to move back further where he started his run so that he wouldn't scratch. He didn't scratch, he qualified, and then in the finals, it was down to those 2, Lutz Long and Jesse Owens. And it went back and forth. Long took the lead, Jesse Owens took the lead, and on his last jump, Jesse Owens beat Lutz Long and broke the Olympic record. Okay? The first one there to celebrate Jesse Owens was the top German athlete, Lutz Long. Okay? People are in awe of each other, of greatness. And Lutz Long became friends with Jesse Owens. This enraged Hitler. Lutz Long was sent into the military, into the infantry, and killed during the Second World War on purpose as punishment. Okay? So Jesse Owens, okay, great story and also a sad story because he's an American hero. One more story with this. He was only supposed to compete in 3 events, the 100, the 200, and the long. There's something called the 4x4 relay. The American team had the fastest time in the world that year. But 2 of the American team members on the relay were Jewish. The Nazis asked the American Olympic Committee not to allow these 2 Jews to compete and win the gold medal because they were going to win. And the American Olympic Committee appeased the Nazis and replaced the 2 Jewish runners. One of the replacement runners was Jesse Owens. And so he won a 4th gold medal, which is great. But what did we do? I mean, this is terrible. You know what I mean? These 2 Jewish Americans, had worked for years for this moment. And the American Olympic Committee caved and took that away from them. Okay? That's horrible what they did to those 2 men. Okay? So, Jesse Owens comes home in 1936 as an Olympic hero for the United States. And he comes back to a country that treats him like a second-class citizen. Okay? This is America, okay? And we got some fixing we got to do in 1936, okay? It's going to take a long time. Now, Jesse is never able to really cash in on his fame. You know, like the Olympians of today. They make a lot of money doing endorsements and stuff like that. Jesse Owens didn't get to, because amateur status, guys, used to be a huge deal. You know, now we had like the dream team in basketball when they allowed professional athletes into the Olympics. It used, like, amateur golfers were much higher praised than professional golfers. Like, professional golf was like, that's for people that are playing for the wrong reasons. They're playing for money instead of for the purposes of winning and being the best. So obviously things have changed in this country. You know what I mean? It's all about the dollars, okay? And there's a lot of dollars in athletics, okay, if you are at the top of your game, okay? So I'll show you a little video next week on the 36 Olympics, which is pretty cool. Any of you guys know the story of Louis Zamperini, Unbroken? He ran the 5,000 meters. He didn't win, but he had the fastest final lap in history. And then went on somehow to survive the war. which is crazy. Okay. All right. I wish you all a happy and safe weekend.